1, 2, 3, 4.
Screen time, screen time, screen time, screen time.
It's my screen time too.
Screen time, screen time.
Hello, and welcome to It's My Screen Time Too, the podcast where we review the programming the other critics ignore, stuff made for kids. Find out what to watch for family movie night, what to avoid altogether, and what you'll want to watch alone voluntarily. I'm Deborah.
And I'm Katie.
And I have 3 kids who are 15, 12, and 12.
And I have 2 kids who are 9 and 6. Today, we are reviewing Dogman. Essentially, since it was first published in 2016, Dav Pilkey's Dogman series has been an unstoppable juggernaut of the children's literature world. We would both be irresponsible critics and irresponsible parents if we didn't cover its splashy, big screen debut. So it was just released on January 31st, 2025, so a little bit less than a week ago when you hear this. It's produced by DreamWorks with animation by Jellyfish Pictures. It is 1 hour, 29 minutes long, right in the sweet spot. It is rated PG. It marks the directorial, yes, I am an old-timey Nickelodeon radio star, directorial. It marks the It marks the directorial debut of writer-producer Peter Hastings. And it is based on the now 14-book series by Dav Pilkey, who has also written the script for the film. Here's a quick plot summary from IMDb. Dogman, half man and half dog, is sworn to protect and serve as he doggedly pursues the feline supervillain, Petey the cat.
Did you like it, Katie?
Listeners, I don't know if you can hear the smile in Deborah's voice, and maybe it's just because she's happy to be podcasting with me again because it's been a while, but I have a feeling that my reaction is going to underwhelm her because I am just going to say kind of a giant meh. How about you?
I did like it, partly because we saw it on opening weekend, and that when you can see it in a theater with a bunch of other people, I think that just makes any movie better.
Yeah, agreed.
It's been a long time since I've read a Dogman movie because my kids are all independent readers now. And I used to think those books were pretty funny. So I have a real affinity for Dogman and I wanted it to succeed. And so I think I went in with all these positive, like kind of like you're cheering for your home team energy. And so I did. I ended up liking it.
I think maybe my relationship with the Dogman franchise is a little bit more complicated than yours because, and I think we've talked about this a little bit on the pod before, I just hate reading graphic novels aloud to my children. I find it hard to like maintain the rhythm of storytelling as I'm reading in that format. So especially before my kids were independent readers, I mean, my 6-year-old really isn't yet, but I would read the Dogman books to them and I really disliked them. But of course, I knew then, and I know now, how hugely important the Dogman books have been in encouraging reluctant readers. And they're a great book series for kids. And I can recognize that alongside recognizing my own. It's not even a dislike because they're cute books. I don't enjoy them myself. And then I have that other complicated layer of if you really do have a book series that reaches kids that wouldn't otherwise be reading, do I really want there to be an animated movie version? Because isn't that just going to replace the books? I don't know.
Oh gosh, I didn't even think about that. Huh. I don't know. Hopefully kids will still read the books. I think they will. It might even make them more popular.
Yeah, someone pointed out rightly to me that there are a lot more Dogman books and there's only one movie. So were you to watch it, it could inspire you to read more, which I guess would be the best case scenario.
Right. And you would probably know better than me. Like, we have a bunch of Dogman books that are hardcover. Are they even out in paperback?
I actually don't know that.
I feel like I've only ever seen them in hardcover, and maybe this will make them come out in paperback. I have no idea how that works, but maybe it'll make Dogman books even more accessible.
I'm going to raise my eyebrows because I think those Flipperama pages would rip right out of a paperback binding.
That's true. That's true. So you've read a lot of the Dogman books to your kids. Do your kids, are they fans of Dogman?
Well, Jay certainly was my oldest, but it's been a while now. And my youngest, we read them all together, but he was super young at that point, and we haven't started. He hasn't shown interest in reading them again now that he's a bit older. Although now maybe he will. How about your kids?
They all really liked, I mean, I think that Dogman just hit when Tony was like at the perfect age.
Mm-hmm.
And then my younger two just followed suit. And so like we still buy them when they come out, even though my kids have pretty advanced reading skills, but we still buy them just to be like completists. And they can read a Dogman book in like 8 minutes
Right,
probably,
right.
but they still really like them. So I went with Nate to this movie, so we were both heading in with excitedness. And like personally, I read this interview with Dave Pilkey. Ooh, I don't even know when it was, but he talked about how he was a poor student. He got kicked out of class. He was made to sit in the hallway, and so he just like doodled in his notebook, and that was how he found like his artistic inspiration. So I just love that story. I love Dave Pilkey's path. I love that
Mm-hmm.
he is encouraging literacy.
Yeah, in addition to the Dogman books being really popular even among reluctant readers, he's also gone a long way towards destigmatizing ADHD. And that's really helpful too, especially as we're going through a time where more and more kids are being diagnosed.
Right. Why isn't this for grown-ups, would you say?
We're so used to the Pixarification of the animated movie experience where
Hmm.
these movies are supposed to be tugging at the adults' heartstrings as well. And Dogman just, for the most part, just isn't that. Like, it is joyful and it is funny in parts, but it is not for us. And I can appreciate that not everything needs to be for us. And I think the adult that has been sitting with their kids and reading Dogman for years can find things to like here, even if it isn't for us. I don't know. Do you have any different thoughts?
Well, so I've known Dogman for so long that like I don't think about his origin story at all, but they do a good job in the movie of like showing us his origin story, which is horrifically gruesome.
Yes.
If you're listening to this and you don't know, a cop and a dog were in a terrible accident, and the doctors at the hospital, to save their lives halfways, attached the head of the dog onto the body of the cop. Hence the name Dogman. And like just the logistics of that and like the grossness of it. I hadn't thought about in a long time, but I was like, oh gosh, if I was going into this movie like, I don't know, a grandparent who's never heard of Dave Pilkey and just wants
Right.
to take their kid to like a cartoon movie,
That's a
they
really
might
good
be put
point.
off
Yeah. That is
by
an
the
excellent point.
very improbable premise. So why is this for grown-ups?
You know how, especially in the early days of the podcast, we used to point out the really obvious plot holes and like things that just
Hmm.
didn't make sense about shows? Like, where does Ryder get all his money for his Paw Patrol endeavors? Like, this has got to be very expensive to have all this gear. Dogman, the movie, states all of that explicitly, and that can be funny to watch as a grown up, as it is funny to watch as a kid. Like, I don't like at one point someone mentions like, sure, you've got visible stitches on your neck, and I was just like, I hadn't honestly thought about the fact that Dogman is just going about with like his stitches still in from this horrible
Hmm.
surgery. I don't know. I thought that could be something that grown-ups could cling on to. I also think the thrust of the plot does have to do with parenthood and raising a child and the love that a parent feels for their child, which is always like a tried and true hit with the parental set.
Right. I mean, yeah, any parent can relate to Little Petey's Y stage,
Oh, yeah.
which he's in for the whole movie. Speaking of Little Petey, let's get into the weeds. What did you think of the cast? Were there any character standouts for you? Anybody you particularly loved or hated?
I enjoyed Seamus, the news cameraman.
Yes.
And I hated her so much I don't remember her name. I hated the cop's ex-girlfriend who immediately abandons him before she even meets him as Dogman, and he is like mourning her loss the entire movie.
Her what? If Kevin had Stella's head attached. Does that count as a till death parts us situation of your wedding vows?
No,
And they're not even married.
no, you're right. But I also, obviously, I have a lot of fond feelings towards my pet. So I would feel like I was abandoning one or the other. Like, clearly, I could find it in my heart to enter in some sort of living situation with the new entity that is Dogman, even if it wasn't a romantic one. Do you, do you disagree?
I felt like in the movie it was made more explicit, like Dogman's loneliness. But I'm with the ex-girlfriend, honestly.
You couldn't have written a letter or just anything. She's just pieces out.
She just breaks the lease. Yeah.
He has to go live in the most palatial doghouse I've ever seen.
I liked Petey, but I found myself like Pete Davidson does not have a distinctive voice, I didn't think.
No, I wouldn't have known it was him had I not read it.
Yeah, same. I thought he did a good job in everything, and I like him on Saturday Night Live, but I was surprised that his voice was so kind of like blah.
Yeah. I mean, that's not to say that he didn't do a good job. Like, maybe he just, like, fully entered into the character of Petey, much like his ex, Ariana Grande, fully entered into the character of Galinda and was
Yeah.
unrecognizable.
So are we ready to talk about the writing?
Let's do it. You give me
Okay.
your expert opinion first.
I thought it was excellently paced. It was entertaining the whole time. It didn't drag. It was laugh out loud funny. Sometimes I think Hollywood will hire a big name writer to adapt their own literary work to a screenplay, but like I think writing a screenplay is a very different skill set than writing a novel. And probably way different than writing a graphic novel. Although maybe graphic novels are better suited towards screenplays because it is just, you're just writing the dialogue because the artwork does all the exposition.
Yeah, and also you're at least a little bit used to it being a visual medium.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe the leap from graphic novelist to screenwriter isn't that tough of a jump.
And I'm embarrassed to say I didn't even look because there has been a Captain Underpants movie, which is Dave Pilkey's other blockbuster character, and I didn't even look to see if he wrote that. But
Oh,
this
shoot.
may
Me
not have
neither.
been his first screenplay rodeo.
Yeah.
They get through so much plot, and I meant to and didn't reread the first Dogman book in preparation for this podcast, but I don't think Lil Petey is the star of the first Dogman. I don't think they bring him in until a subsequent book. Does that seem to jive with your memories?
Yeah, this is like a mashup of a bunch of Dogman books.
And as we said, this is an hour and a half movie, just under hour and a half movie. They get through so much plot. They cover the Dogman origin. They cover him becoming a supacop. And they cover the whole Lil Petey thing so economically. And I have familiarity with the character, but at no point did I feel confused. And I don't think that your average viewer would, which I think speaks to some capable writing.
Can we talk about the music?
Sure, because I got nothing.
Okay, I have a personal connection to the soundtrack.
Love it.
Okay, so the song Super Good is by Young Gravy, who is a rapper who went to the same summer camp where I worked as a camp counselor.
Oh, did you counsel him?
I don't think so. He's like a lot younger than me, but I think younger to the point of like he was probably a camper there after I
Mm-hmm.
was a counselor. But like Minnesota lore is that he learned how to wrap around a camp and campfire.
Oh, that's adorable.
Yeah.
I also thought of you, speaking of the music, when Dogman and Lil Petey sat down and played some music together. And I was like, that's Deborah's dream for like one of her kids just to be able to like slide up to her on the piano bench and jam.
Yeah, was that like the jazzy one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I liked that song a lot. Yeah, that was fun. What do you have to say about the structure?
I think the transition from book to screen worked. I like that they still had some visual gags that used the written word, as in the early scene when the cop and the dog are driving and they run into a case of bees, and you're like, oh no, it's going to be bees. But then the letter B falls out of the box. I like that
Hmm.
quite a bit.
Yeah, so kind of moving on to the look of the
Oh,
movie.
actually, I have one more structure question for you.
Okay.
And I don't even know if it fits into structure well, but did you, and you must have that really long short for Bad Guys 2 before your movie?
Yes, yeah.
They really took advantage of the short runtime to give us this extended preview for Bad Guys 2, which I did not care for. Maybe it was because I was sitting next to a 6-year-old and he was like, we're here to see Dogman. What is going on? I am old enough to know what a movie trailer should look like, then this is too long.
I think I would have been annoyed by it had we not together just reviewed the Bad Guys holiday special because I
Hmm.
felt like a familiarity with the characters and
Right.
Nate liked it. So we thought it was fun. He's double your 6 year old's age, so
Fair.
different experience.
All right, go on. The look of the movie?
Okay, so I remember like the movie Persepolis based
Hmm.
on a graphic novel.
Hmm.
And I think this is a fun way to do a movie because there's so much you like from the graphic novel going into the movie. And for me, this hit all of the things that I wanted to see. And it's your favorite book characters come to life on the screen.
Yeah, and not in a way that makes you feel like it's taking away from the two-dimensional drawn version on the page. Like
Hmm.
he still looks like Dogman. He doesn't look like a flashy CGI three-dimensional version of Dogman. Well, what do you think makes this okay or good for kids?
It's a funny story. Well, it's funny. It's a funny premise.
Yes.
Is the story fun? The story itself is not very funny, but like the way it's told is funny. I think it's a great reward for Dogman lovers. This is an instance where I don't think the book is necessarily better than the movie, like better than the movie. It's like this is more like an accompaniment to the books.
I would hope so. Yeah, I don't think, other than the somewhat scary premise of how Dogman exists, and like you should have familiarized your kids with Dogman before you went to the movie, I didn't see that there was anything overtly objectionable for kids in here.
Hmm.
Was there anything that you saw that could make it inappropriate or otherwise bad for kids?
I could see somebody making the case that like Dave Pilkey's subversive humor is not great for the next generation, but I think I love it. So I can like picture that argument in my head, but it's not one that I would make myself.
Yeah, I mean, compared to your average video game plot, I don't know that they would have much of a paw to stand on with that one.
Hmm. Well, let's talk some of our evergreen questions. What adult movie or show does this compare to?
I feel bad, but I have to curse on this podcast, and it's just to give you the name of what it made me think of because it's in the zeitgeist right now. Plus, I just had to read it for book club, but it made me think of the book slash now new show starring Amy Adams, Nightbitch. Have you read or watched this?
Oh, I read a review of it or I read something about it that gave the plot a little bit. Oh, that's an interesting comparison.
Yeah, because it's like woman becomes a dog to like embrace her true self, which
Hmm.
is a more frightening take, perhaps. I don't know. It would be frightening to see a adult grown-up take on the dog man story. How horrible and sad. But but I would not recommend the book Nightbitch to anyone, and I disliked the book so thoroughly that I will not be watching the show despite reservoir of goodwill towards Amy Adams, but it did make me think of it as I was watching Dogman. How about you?
It made me think of Alison Bechdel's Fun Home.
Oh, another graphic novel, which
Just because it's a graphic novel and Fun Home is being produced by a Minneapolis theater this year. It's not like it's the first production of this play, but it's the first time I'll get to see it.
it's a musical, right?
I think so. That's like the only graphic novel for adults that I've ever gotten through and enjoyed.
Okay, so
I'm
you,
not a
yeah, you don't like
I'm
them
not a big
either.
graphic novel
Okay.
reader. And I think it's just because we didn't grow up with them. Cast me your gritty HBO reboot of Dogman.
I gave this perhaps too much thought, and excuse me while I expose my own basicness, but we went on a cruise last spring, and there was a show there for kids, and it was actually like a diving show. They had a pool, and like people were diving into the water while the boat was moving. It was terrifying. But the MC of the show,
Wait, like diving into the ocean from the ship?
no, it was a pool.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's neither here nor there, though, because the MC of the show was like a clown in the classic sense. Like he wasn't really dressed like a clown, but he was wearing like kind of dapper clothing and like kind of directing the audience reaction. And he did not speak. And he would do like funny pratfalls into the pool. And he was always like getting into mischief and kind of riling up the crowd and being more interactive with the kids who might be bored by the terrifying high diving taking place behind them. And the more I thought about what actor would I want to play Dogman, the more I thought I just want someone with like that kind of physicality, that kind of comic physicality, that I don't even really need an actor. Like just give me like a Cirque du Soleil performer, like someone who has done the clown MC role like this before. I think that would be a great fit. How about you?
Nice. I had a hard time with this because, like, are we casting, like, there's so much CGI magic that can be made. I mean, I think it has to be Andy Serkis, probably.
Oh, wow. You don't think he's a little too old for all the. Well, I guess if you're doing OCGI, it doesn't matter.
I mean, he's the go-to. I'm sure there's got to be a Andy Serkis Jr.
He has
protege.
passed the mantle to someone for the Kingdom of the Apes movies, I believe. I thought I remember reading that, but I don't know who.
Okay, well, let's have him. And then for Pete, I was thinking J.K. Simmons.
I like that.
Yeah, like in that jazz drummer movie, he's so mean. He would be great.
Yeah, I
And
like
then CGI could just make a miniature J.K. Simmons who's
Okay, I
like,
draw the line there. That sounds terrifying. Science has
Why?
gone too far.
Why?
I don't want to because I just don't want it. I think it would give me nightmares, Deborah, okay?
Why? So would you ever watch this alone voluntarily?
No, I would not. How about you?
No, but I would take my other kids to see it, even in the theater if they want to.
Yeah, I will happily watch it with my kids again. It was, again, a really enjoyable theatrical experience. One of those great, everyone's excited, everyone's reacting in the appropriate, hilarious ways. So that was fun.
What would you rate it? Scale of 1 to 5.
I gotta go with my gut and give it a 3. I just generally kind of meh about the whole thing. How about you?
That's fair. I would give it a 4.5. I love Dave Pilkey. I hope that all his other projects get off the ground.
Yeah, I'm sure he's gonna make all the monies. You don't need the kids don't need my endorsement for this movie. But I will say, see it, but please make sure you have some exposure to the books beforehand.
Yeah, definitely a see it.
Thanks for listening to our review of Dogman. Next week, we'll be back with a conversation about screen time in the news. If you enjoyed our show today, please recommend the show to a friend you think would enjoy it too. We love growing our community of parents for sanity and screen time. Never want to miss our up-to-the-minute thoughts about screen time? Head on over to our website at myscreentime2.com to subscribe to updates and never miss a new episode. Tune in next time for more real talk about the movies and TV we watch with our kids because we have to, and sometimes because we like to. Bye!
Bye.
Screen time.